Hi, I'm Martin Dorfling from Cataclysmic Science. In this video, I thought I'd just have some fun. Guys, so you don't have to take anything in this video too serious. Kind of eat the meat, spit out the bones. So, I want to play with the idea of, was Atlantis and Asgard contemporaries in time, or two kingdoms during the same time? Just to refresh your minds, Asgard is the kingdom of Odin, the father of Thor. You know, the guy with the big hammer. So I took this list from the book After the Flood by Bill Cooper. This is supposedly Odin's lineage. He is at the bottom, various versions of his name. Odin, Woden, Woden, Uten, Oten, Woden. I really don't know how to pronounce these names. This is the lines claiming Odin's lineage directly back to Noah. The name Skif or Seshkef in some other languages is the name of Japheth. So I'm just quickly showing Noah's lineage through Shem at the top, which we previously used to establish the Tower of Babel event and counted population numbers. At the bottom is Japheth's lineage, from which Odin is claimed to be. It might be through Gomer, which might be the Germans or the Asenas. In many archaeological and historical sources, it's not always clear whether something is a genealogy or a chronology line. And just keep in mind that there is a big difference between the two. In chronology, it's a sequence of events. The birth of an older brother, mother, or sister may be mentioned in the same recording. In a genealogy, a lineage is given, but generations in between may be kept out. An example is, say that you are the lineage of this famous person in history 200 years ago, because everyone knows who it is. Then you don't have to mention all the parents in between. Example, we may say King David was the son of Abraham, was the son of Noah, which is perfectly correct, but I skipped 1,400 years in giving that lineage. Moving on, so I compared the two lines above. The Genesis one is a genealogy and chronology. The other one, I really don't know. I can't even confirm the authenticity of Odin's or Woden's data sources, which I think is in the British Museum, but I'm meaning I don't know the deeper sources. I'm making some leaps and assumptions here. It's purely speculative, so again, don't take anything too serious. Now, in looking at this data, on the left side I took one of those genealogies from the previous page, and then I took Genesis, and the third column I just wrote the big events like the Tower of Babel or big events, and then on the far right I wrote the kingdoms that might have existed in those days. Like I said, not necessarily correct. So what I did, I tried to kind of just try to see how far I can draw the lines and compare the two columns with each other. With Wooden and the Genesis account. So I did move sometimes names up and down, like row 11, Godwoof and Photopolt. It was only mentioned in one of the lineages, so I didn't know if I should skip one or not. Then, for instance, in the Genesis line, Terah was 70 when he had Abram, and also that I didn't even add in this line is Abram was 100 when Isaac was born. So the whole line on that side can also actually move down, putting Odin and Jacob more at the same time. Isaac was 60 when he had Jacob, and Jacob was 91 when he had Joseph. So in between there could have been other generations born. So I kind of just skipped the line and see where I got out. So here I already struggled to kind of show Asgard and Atlantis, like if Asgard is connected to Odin, to my estimate of Atlantis. Okay, so the big thing here is I seem to be easily out by 200 plus years of Odin's birth when compared to my estimated time for Atlantis, which range from Serach to Terah. But then I give some leniency to Joseph's time for Atlantis, as something cataclysmic may have caused the 7 years famine in Egypt, and on my table falls with Odin and Asgard. this timeline goes from one direction, from Noah to Odin. But let's look at some historical claims working from another angle, from modern times working backwards. If we look at the Anglo-Saxon royal houses, they claim to be from the lineage of Odin. We have the House of Wessex, the House of Lindsey, the House of Kent, the House of Mercia, the House of Northumbria, the House of East Anglia. But look at the lineages. I feel like I come up with not just a 200-year bridge, but I feel like I have a 2,000-year bridge somewhere going upwards. Looking again at Japhet, we have the following. Ashkenaz descendants, and now I'm going to partly quote from the Bill Cooper book. They first settled in what is today Armenia, although later he was associated with his father Gomer with the German tribes. The Assyrians tells us in the inscriptions of the Askuza, a tribe who allied himself with the Manai in a revolt in the 7th century BC, an event that is also mentioned in the Old Testament in Jeremiah 51. The identity of the Ashkenazim is the Askuza. This name, the Askuza, of the Assyrians' records, later became the Scythi or Scythians of Herodotus. The Magog or Magogites, later known to the Greeks as the Scythians, according to the works of Josephus also. However, given the subsequent history of the peoples of Ashkenaz, who are far more certainly identified as the later Scythians, it is more likely that the early Magogites were assimilated into the peoples of Ashkenaz, thus making up merely a part of the Scythian hordes. Apparently the early Irish Celts traced their own lineage from Japhet through the line of Magog. There is a claim in the 13th century by an Icelandic historian who wrote that Odin became to be worshipped as a god, but he was originally a famous warrior who led his people out of Turkey into northern Germany. Asgard had the Bifrost Bridge, sort of a rainbow thing, which makes me think of the aurora or northern lights as you travel up that way. Just a random thought that. From the website wildhunt.org, this photo is taken from there of a Danish gold amulet with runic inscriptions of Odin. This inscription dates to the early 5th century AD. The inscription is translated as "He is Odin's man." Oh, and do pause the video and look at the symbols closely. Tacitus was a Roman historian and politician. He lived in 56 to 120 AD. According to the Wikipedia page of Thor, the son of Odin, Tacitus refers to the god Odin as Mercury and Thor as Hercules. Tacitus refers to the veneration of Hercules by the Germanic people as he records a wood beyond the river Weser in what is now northwestern Germany as dedicated to Hercules. The above photo in the left is taken from Wikipedia from Thor's page and shows an altar stone of Heracles or Thor dated at 226 AD. The second photo, also from Wikipedia, shows Atlas, king of Atlantis, and Heracles, who I mentioned, also known as Thor, Odin's son, in a legend of the Golden Apples. Atlas wanted Hercules to take the earth off his shoulders, which he carried. There is some trickery involved here. In some versions of the story, Hercules or Heracles, in order to help Atlas, built two great pillars, the pillars of Hercules, to help hold the sky away from the earth, helping Atlas. Which made me wonder why Atlas had to hold up the earth in the first place. Some said it's not actually an earth he is supposed to hold up, but celestial spheres, kind of like the top right photo taken there from Wikipedia, where the cosmological models which Plato also along the line helped develop. And there's a bit of a coincidence for me with that and the Rickard ring structure if you look at it. Okay, I must admit, in Space and Time I ran out of providing a direct connection between Atlantis and the Nordic Asgard kingdom on my timeline as being contemporaries in time. However, I did get very close in years. That story of Heracles and Atlas is interesting though. But we must be honest, maybe Atlantis is only a myth and I can only speculate about its location and more important, its existence in time. And the Odin timeline also got the better of me. There is only so much of my own time I could spend on it. However, the Old Testament character Job mentions a couple of things. Job lived around 2000 BC. He mentions bronze and iron works, which according to the timeline is Bronze Age, not yet Iron Age. Although archaeology clearly provided evidence of isolated ironworks in 2000 BC. Thor's hammer is said to be forged of iron and steel. And Job was an astronomer, speaking of the Orion and Pleiades constellation, and also a lot of water and ice covering the earth around that chapter. The Pleiades, or seven sisters, the daughters of Atlas, were the nursemaids of Dionysus, son of Zeus, who Herodotus, by the way, used to correct the erroneous Egyptian timeline. I was thinking a lot about the ancient characters from the Norse gods, Greek gods, Roman gods, thinking of how humanity split up into different nations after the Tower of Babel, and all of them would still share the same story, but in different languages throughout the world. Here is something that caught my eye. The mythological history of the demigods and titans goes as follows. Gaia is female and gives birth to Uranus, but Uranus also had children with Gaia. Uranus was the guy in charge. Uranus goes to bed to his wife, but then Cronus jumps him in there, possibly cutting off his genitals, or maybe not, or something else. It's strange because there are still children being born, which either Uranus or Cronus is the father of, and if you read between the lines, it is through Gaia. And the prophecy occurs ensues that event. The prophecy is that Cronus' son will destroy him. Cronus becomes king of the castle, kills his kids so that the prophecy can't be fulfilled, but it doesn't work and some kids are still being born. Zeus is born as the sixth child of Cronus. He grows up and overthrows his father and becomes very mighty. Zeus then sets the other imprisoned demigods or titans free, including Atlas, by the way, so that they can leave this kingdom and go settle their own homes across the oceans. Now compare that to the history recorded in Genesis. Noah is the guy in charge, which by the way, after getting off the ark, sacrifices a bull or cow for that matter. Noah is drunk from wine and goes to bed. Ham goes in there and does something that's shaming him. But between Genesis and Leviticus, we read that the woman's shame or nakedness is also her husband's shame or nakedness. In any case, a child is now born and the prophecy or curse ensues. Another child is born, the father of Nimrod, Nimrod being the sixth child. Nimrod grows up and becomes a mighty ruler of that very specific kingdom. Under that kingdom, everyone is type of set free to go and settle their own homes across the oceans. That is some coincidence. All this leaving me with the deep thoughts. Maybe the legends and mythologies are really messed up stories of very real events. But in the retold events, somebody just smoked too much Egyptian Blue Lotus, or there's an actual war in a realm of dimensions bigger than any of us. On a side note, Norse mythology started with a cow, and Egypt is full of the Apis bull history.